First, who we are, if you don't know, we're with the San Francisco Human Services Agency, also known as HSA. Essentially, we'll be the city workers that are helping San Franciscans navigate through this law, and hopefully maximizing benefits, CalFresh benefits. Yeah, so just moving forward really quick. Yes, this is who we are. We have a vast array of services. We touch we help over 250,000 San Franciscans annually. That's over 25% of the San Franciscan population. And let's just get into it. So this is why we're here. We're here to discuss the CalFresh work requirement. Again, like Ed Boland said, it was a rule that was enacted in 1996 as part of the welfare reform. For California, the waiver, or for the 3 counties in California that are going to be affected by this, which is San Francisco, San Mateo, and Santa Clara, it'll be in effect September 1st of this year. The other 55 counties throughout California are still under waiver, and our kind friends at CDSS are the ones responsible for handling any waiver requests that are submitted to the feds. So again, what is ABOD? ABOD is A-B-A-W-D. It stands for Able-Bodied Adults Without Dependents. That's the policy jargon. It's CalFresh recipients ages 18 to 49 that don't have a dependent. Another way to say it is individuals who are 18 to 49 without kids in the household. So if and then currently our data suggests that 11,500 San Franciscans will be affected by this rule. So it just kind of gives you kind of a measurement of who's affected. And again, the rule is you'll be limited to 3 months of nutrition benefits within a 3-year period. All right, it's also known as a time limit. And then again, the definition of a time limit is a 3-year period. In California, we've decided to use a fixed statewide clock. That 3-year period is right now, it's defined as January 1st, 2017, and then it ends December 31st, 2019. And it's also known as a fixed statewide clock. And the new clock begins January 1st, 2020, and it ends December 31st, 2022. All right. And then again, within that 3-year period, any ABOD that does not meet the work requirement or doesn't meet an exemption can only receive 3 months of CalFresh benefits. Oh, and for the community organizations here, it's important to know that clients will receive a letter for each month that is counted toward a 3-month time limit. So if clients come to you guys and say, hey, I got this letter in the mail, it's important to engage with them and let them know this is month 1, now you're in month 2, and contact the county so we can so we can make sure that we have the right information on file, so that way we're not incorrectly holding people to this time limit. Okay. So next we'll get into some data.
Hi everyone. So in preparing for the implementation of the ABOD work requirements, we're looking at what the statistics of San Francisco look like that are going to be affected by the new rules. Not new rules, but with the waiver. As we're preparing, okay. As we're preparing, what we can see is that majority of the ABOD population are going to be male, making up 64%. Also, we're looking at 89% English speakers. However, this does not mean that we're not going to have available materials in the threshold languages. That is what we're currently working on and are going to have the information available on our website. In terms of looking at the range of ethnicities, what we've done in the county beginning in February, we've actually started a pilot where we began pre-screening clients to kind of understand what is this population going to look like. And through anecdotal data that we got from the eligibility workers that were doing this work, is that a lot of our households that are Chinese or Spanish speaking are going to be exempt from the ABOD work requirement, because they meet one of the exemptions. And as we look over them a little bit more, what we'll see is there's an exemption for individuals who have a child in their household that is under the age of 18, and a lot of those households happen to be Chinese or Spanish speaking. So that's kind of reflective of the data that we have here as well. In looking at the zip code data, we also can see which areas of our city are going to be most impacted. Where do we need to do the most outreach to ensure that clients know what the new requirement is and how they can retain their services, or to kind of dispel some of the myths that are out there that prevent clients from applying, or prevent from individuals in those areas from applying. And so what we're going to be looking at is even though we're going to see the number of individuals within these within these zip codes remain steady in terms of being ABODs, what we want to see is a low number of individuals who are not going to be eligible because they don't know about the exemptions, because they're not meeting the work requirement. And as I continue on with the slides, you'll see the available services that we're going to have to ensure that clients know about what the exemptions are and know how to meet the work requirements, and we will assist them in meeting those work requirements.
I'm sorry, I just had to say, the darker it gets, it's more affected? Or?
More individuals who would be in the ABOD category. Mm-hmm.
What is the gray area?
The gray areas,
Those are areas representative of the zip codes of residents for the 5,000 most at risk.
oh,
So
thank you.
there wouldn't be as much concentration of represented in the gray areas. The scale is actually on your slide packet, unfortunately. I just think with the presentation. Yeah, but it's on
It's towards the kind of bottom of the page. So this is the representation of the 5,000 individuals that we think are going to be most at risk, because we don't have very much data on them because of our current system. We are not collecting some of the exemptions for them because we weren't required to, and they never had to provide. So what we're doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, is doing additional outreach to these populations. So in looking at the exemptions, I know that Ed had kind of went over some of them already, but I think it's really important to hear what they are and just to really know that there are different ways that clients can retain their eligibility by connecting with human services and providing us with information about their statuses so that we can make sure that they are screened timely and that they retain their eligibility because we have the information that they are providing. So part of our preparation process has been to look at what information do we already collect and we already have in our system, and make sure that we use automation as much as possible to identify clients who would be exempt from the work requirement. And so for example, we currently for the CalFresh program have household information where we have, who's eligible in the household. And so any household that has a child in the home, we can automatically screen for, and therefore that household adults over the age of 18 are going to be exempt. So that's the kind of automation that we want to utilize as much as possible so that we are not having to connect with as many clients and not having to burden as many clients to provide us with the verifications to retain their benefits. One of our major exemptions that we've seen through the pilot that I just spoke about is our homeless population makes up, at least for the pilot data, it makes up about a quarter of the exemptions that are applied to our caseload. And so in talking specifically about San Francisco, so looking at the exemptions, basically identifying clients who are chronically homeless, clients who are pregnant, living with a child under the age of 18, individuals who are applying or have received unemployment insurance benefits, disability benefits, or veterans disability benefits, those who are struggling with drug or alcohol dependency, those individuals who have a physical or mental or emotional disability that prevents them from working 20 hours a week, those are the types of exemptions that we're going to want to know about from the clients in order to properly screen them for the exemptions and ensure that they're retaining their eligibility. Another point is that with this, there is one more exemption, which is a discretionary county, which is a discretionary exemption by name of a 15% exemption, which is basically a number allotted to the county of based on the number of individuals. This exemption is the number of individuals equal to 15% of the state's annual caseload that is ineligible for the program benefits. So basically it's a county discretionary exemption, which it's a finite number, but what we're hoping to do is use it in a way that will ensure that as many clients as possible are not faced with overpayments, are not faced with sanctions, and that we're helping out those who may be meeting the 18 hours a week, but not the 20. So those who are trying to meet the work requirements, or those who are trying to provide us with verifications, we want to make sure that we give them this additional assistance in retaining their benefits. Here we talk about a little bit more about the pilot data that we have. Basically, again, in preparation for implementation, we wanted to see what is really going to happen in our county and how can these numbers be projected, because the way that ABOT is going to be applied basically in this round is not the same as it was applied prior to this expiring waiver. And so in the pilot, what we were able to identify is that 75% of individuals who were screened during this pilot had an exemption, which left 25% of the individuals who did not want to participate at this time because the work requirement or this information did not need to be shared with the county, they weren't required to, or who would have to meet a work requirement. And among the exemptions that we identified, like I said, homelessness was the #1 exemption. Child in the home was actually the #2 exemption. And then they kind of trickled down. It was about the other big chunk of exemptions was the other 25%. However, as individual exemptions go, they were limited. So if a client is not exempt from the work requirement, they have to meet an average of 80 hours per month or 20 per week in order to retain their CalFresh benefits for longer than the 3 months in a 36-month certification, in a 36-month period. And the ways to meet that work requirement is to either work in a traditional job, 20 hours a week, 80 a month, or to have self-employment. There are additional ways to meet this through volunteer work, through in-kind work. We also have employment training services and workfare services that can assist clients who don't have the opportunity to find employment on their own or to find work activities on their own. We in the county would be able to assist them with that. And I'm actually going to hand it over to Jovita to talk about some of those employment services that we're offering.
So to address just the work requirements for our clients who are not exempted, HSA has actually created a menu of services, and these are just a sample of the services that we currently will be offering to our clients who will need to satisfy their work requirements. So we have the job readiness and placement, which is basically part of our Jobs Now program. This is where we work with different nonprofits, private employers. We help our clients find jobs, and we subsidize the wages. We also have vocational training, and we have different contracts with different nonprofits within San Francisco, where we provide on-the-job training, job skills, and case management. What we have done really is through the contracts that we have and the nonprofits that has connections with our agency, we're going to funnel them to those various vocational training. We also have English immersion program for clients that might need assistance with that, GED or also post-secondary programs. We're currently working with City College for that and also as a way to funnel our clients as well. In addition to these 3 services, we also have workfare where we have we work with the public sector and our private sector where we actually have what we call the workfare where clients do employment and training. We also have the alternative workfare where we have different nonprofits that we currently have MOUs where clients can also do their 20 hours of services, so, well, not 20 hours, but their workfare hours as well to satisfy the requirements. We also have a youth employment services program as well as a homeless employment services program for clients that are at risk of homelessness or and at risk of homelessness and had a previous homeless history as well. So those are some of the examples of the services that we offer, choices for our clients. To go through or avail our orientation and for our clients to hear about our services, we actually have a hotline that we will be providing to our clients, and we also have, I think in your packet, a flyer that shows that wherein clients can actually call in to schedule an appointment so that they can hear the menu of services as well. And that.
So now we want to get into a little bit of what we as a county are doing to help notify San Franciscans about this rule. One is this form we're having here, and along with a lot of the state-required notifications that are going to be going out to CalFresh clients, San Francisco is we're taking it upon ourselves to send a couple of mailers out to what we call at-risk clients, and we've mentioned that there's about 5,000 of them before. And what at-risk means essentially is in our system that maintains eligibility. They don't have a already recorded exemption, and they're not already meeting the requirement via employment. So that's what we've kind of termed as at-risk. So right now, we've decided hey, we need to create a touch point for them to come into the county and notify them about the ABOT so we can properly assess them. So in about a week and a half, we're going to be sending these mailers out to that 5,000 group, and we're going to be sending them to everybody, but this first wave is that 5,000. And one is just going to be a letter saying, hey, there's these changes coming September 1st. Number 2 is going to be this right here. It's just the information that we've provided here for you today, just on one nice, neat sheet. And finally, there's going to be what we're calling the CalFresh work activity requirement survey or screening form. What we're asking clients to do is to fill this out, check off any of the exemptions that may apply to them, check off any of the work requirements that may apply to them, and then mail that back in the self-return envelope that we're also going to provide. So that way, the county can make that initial contact prior to September 1st to ensure that we don't erroneously, limit our clients' benefits to 3 months. So kind of the call to action for you guys is if you guys see this, if somebody brings this to you guys, really urge clients and customers to fill this out and get in touch with us so we can make the proper assessment. We have a few of the copies available here today, I believe. We're also in the process of getting them translated in our threshold languages, and they're also available for download at our newly developed website, sfhsa.org.
So unfortunately, we do know there will be some clients who are going to be discontinued from CalFresh due to either choosing not to participate in work activities or not wanting to share whether an exemption applies to them. And so we want to let you know that there are food resources available to them, food bank being one of those. And as community partners, we want to encourage basically this call to action for you. Educate your clients about this new rule, letting them know that even though the rule is coming down shouldn't be a barrier to them applying for benefits or retaining their benefits. There are county resources that can help, both with having employment services, assisting them with finding a work activity that complies, and with assisting them with screening for exemptions. I want you to promote the CalFresh service because even though clients will be discontinued due to non-compliance with ABOT, doesn't mean that they're going to be food secure. Food insecurity is still going to be a big barrier for these clients, and so promoting the services and educating clients about the fact that there are resources that can help is going to be a really crucial part on the community. And then connect with us, connect to become alternative workfare sites where you can be part of the system where clients can go to your organizations and meet those workfare hours. The other, like Jamil mentioned, is to, when clients come to you with this paperwork and you have this one-on-one communication with your clients, with our mutual clients, you're able to communicate to them that this is an important change, this is important information to get back to us, and kind of stress the urgency that the sooner they get the information to us regarding their exemptions, which I think you do have the clients' surveys in your packets. As soon as they get those to us, the sooner we get them back, the more likely that they're going to get pre-screened prior to September, because this isn't going to be one of those things where there's a grace period, which we'd love to have, but September 1st, if an individual is not meeting the work requirement September 31st, if they're not meeting the work requirement or an exemption by the end of the month, they will create a countable month for them, which could lead to discontinuance due to non-compliance. Our contact information is here, and I think now we'll open the floor to any questions that you have.
So substance abuse alone is not an exemption. You have to be in a treatment program.
No, actually, under the current state guidance, an individual who suffers from substance abuse or substance dependency can report that to us, and that would be an exemption.
Okay, what kind of you're going to be getting all the different paperwork and proof, how you just, I'm a social worker at my agency, we do a lot of SSI advocacy, and people are on things CalFresh before they get on SSI, so obviously qualify under a number of these. So do you keep proof of everything, if they're homeless, if they have a drug problem, if they have, or just pick one?
So actually, that's a really great question. So if you do have clients who have multiple exemptions, we actually want to know what all of them are, because some of them may expire, some of them may end, but we want to continue their eligibility. So for example, if you have somebody who has a drug or alcohol dependency and is also homeless, they would want to report that to us so that we can identify those two conditions and allow them for benefits. And for example, if your service also provides them with housing, so they lose that homelessness status now, but they still have a drug or alcohol dependency, that will continue on their eligibility through the exemption.
Just a letter from me saying, I'm the director of social services at this agency, this person has a drug problem and is homeless.
Yes.
That's homeless documentation.
Yes.
Well, I just want to clarify that question, that while it may be beneficial to your client to demonstrate multiple exemptions, for reasonable disability, they really only need to exempt for one reason, to exempt for the requirement. So they can only verify one or multiple applicants, and that will be sufficient.
Thank you, Noah.
One question, so for physical, mental, or emotional, do they need a physician's note for that?
No, a lot of the exemptions could actually, oh, sure. For physical, mental, and emotional disabilities, are physician notes required as verification. So no, some of the conditions can actually be self-attested to by the client, and if they are observed by our workers, they could also be identified in the case to exempt the client and continue eligibility. Yeah, maybe you had a question?
Oh, I was asking for the same
Yeah.
question. But if they are asking for that, because people won't know that, and they'll ask us for letters or something. Are there characteristics of it that are helpful? Should we put, it says you don't have to put the diagnosis. Is there a time, if there's a time limited element, do we need to put a date? Do we need to say something is ongoing so that it doesn't expire? Are there characteristics of
Does the
this
state
form
want to
letter?
take this one?
Or are you making, I know you're making a form, but the form I don't assume is gonna get to me before you send letters to 5,000 people, so.
Great, so the screening forms are in the packets already, actually, and so,
But that's not the form I would use to document.
Oh, right, I'm so
their-
sorry, yes.
Their issue.
so any information.
Oh, I'm a physician, sorry.
Sorry, thank you. So any information that will be helpful to identify the individual having any of those conditions would be something that would use to verify the exemption, and
So
something coming
as
from a
system,
physician.
I can put client name, space for problem, ongoing or not, and a space for people to sign, and just make 5,000 of them and send them all over the system. Because that I could do tomorrow.
Yes, please.
I didn't hear the whole question, but I think what you're getting at is, there's a couple of different things. There's an exemption for an obvious unfitness to work, so that would happen during the intake interview. So if the eligibility worker, based on their observation or their judgment during the interview, determines that this person has an unfitness that is obvious, and I know that word makes people feel a little sticky, then they can document that in the case
Right.
notes. So one of the things that we've been stressing is to describe the behavior and not diagnose. So we don't necessarily need to know that this person has a specific diagnosis if you're going the obvious route. We just need to know, based on this day, I observed this behavior, the client stated this, or something like that.
If I was the worker, I would see that, but if I have a
So-
client who has
Yeah.
PTSD, very bad heart disease,
Yes.
takes 7 pills a day and basically shouldn't leave the house, none of those things are going to be observed in an
Exactly.
interview, and it makes no sense to put them through trying to make it obvious if I can just
No,
make
you
a
don't
form
have
letter.
to. And you don't have to. So that's where the medical certification exemption comes in for those
Right.
fitness reasons that are not obvious to the eligibility worker. You can get, there's a whole laundry list of people that can attest to that. So it can be a physician, it can be a social worker, it can be a public health nurse, a dentist. There's a whole list in the handbook of people that can attest. It can be as simple as a letter saying this person cannot work or is unable to work 20 hours per week. That's really the sticking
Awesome.
point.
That's what the form letter will say.
So, the letters that I'm with a nonprofit that does workforce development, so a lot of my people are homeless or just getting out of prison and things like that. So if I send a letter in for my person, am I gonna have to send a letter for each of my people in every month?
No.
That they're meeting an exemption now.
Again, Olga, can you just repeat that?
Oh, sure.
I don't think it was a good question.
For exemption verifications, an individual would have to attest at, or provide verification at the time of application or at their annual certification. They don't need to provide verification on a monthly basis.
That's great.
Are there any potential negative or unintended consequences of disturbing it? My initial reaction is like, let's tell everyone to move forward, let's get people ready, and at the same time, if we're going to public charge being enforced, we already saw a drop. But I'm just curious, like, is there anything, or have you experienced any concerns that might come up when we're trying to encourage people to kind of get ahead of it?
Noel?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could stab at that question. So just to be clear, the public charge issue, and there's a lot of fear and uncertainty about that. I think it's changed currently, federal law related to public charge, but we hear the changes to be coming. That's pretty unrelated to the ABOD rule change. And at the moment, in the current law, CalFresh is not considered public charge law. But if we reinforce that message, I think what we need to do is say that people should be encouraged to apply for CalFresh.
So what was that question? Are they referring to sharing information with federal
The
agencies?
question was around how these work requirements could just add on top to like the fear requirement that we have unfortunately, and just really ensuring that we have access. So I think a lot of arguments is more that these issues are separate. However, just given the holistic climate that we're in right now, we have things like FAQs that can perhaps help you answer some of those questions, but they are separate issues. Unfortunately, with what people are hearing in the media, what they're talking about in their homes, you know, we understand that there might be some additional work to do everything to try to give people the confidence that when things change, there are no ramifications around, you know, legal permanent residency and applying for that. So maybe it's CalFresh right now, but unfortunately, you know, that person is seeking to do this.
Thank you.
So one of my questions would be, well, let me back up story. So most of the patients that I work at a health clinic that I enroll in CalFresh, it's, they get really frustrated because of a lot of paperwork to be done, so this is adding to them. Like I've had examples that it takes like a month and a half for them to give me all the paperwork, everything, and at the end they only get $15, $16. So for them, it's like, I wasted all this time, it wasn't worth it. And I've actually, like I've spoken with someone, a few months ago about this, hired by CalFresh, I think like what was it? They hired an outside person for this. It is kind of like, if there's a way for this to be with the agencies, not for, public use, but to calculate how much, with all the information that they give us, like a calculation, like, okay, it kind of seems that you might get, or this might happen. Because if we calculate it and they're gonna get $16, it's not even worth them coming back and forth. Because at the end, like for us, like for me, they come and complain to me. Like if it's like, it's your fault, like you should know, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, like I did not know, so.
So this would be an additional requirement to provide, but what we're trying to do is to automate as much information as possible so that it's a very small pool of individuals who would actually need to provide additional information from us. And talking about the small allotment amount, if you think about it throughout the year, you're you're basically supplementing your nutritional allotment by $200 or so, actually a little over $200. So over a year, the $16 a month really does add up. And so we do want to encourage clients who are getting even the smallest allotment to continue applying for CalFresh because their circumstances can change. That $15 can go a long way. It doesn't need to be used all in 1 month. It could be accumulated for a certain amount of time. And if their circumstances change, they may lose their job, their allotment would increase by them reporting that information to us. So I would want to encourage you guys to encourage your clients to even apply for the minimal allotment.